Mike, so tell me about your campaign about prostate cancer. How did it all get started?
Well, it got started 2 years ago at the Pro Football Hall of Fame that the NFL and the American Urological Association Foundation were offering free screenings to retired players. And so I really had no real reason to go down to the screening because I had a physical earlier in the year, but for business reasons I did. And while I was there, these ladies that I now call angels suggested that I take the blood test. It's a simple blood test, and so I thought I would because, as they said, it might encourage somebody else to do it. Um, that led to a discussion with the doctor on site there about my PSA, first time I'd ever heard about PSA, and he was asking me for my baseline because that number by itself means nothing. You need to know what your baseline is or other scores that you've had. And so I had to wait until I got back home, called my primary care doctor, who looked at my chart and realized that based on what had been happening the last 2 years, that I indeed had a spike and I should go in for a biopsy. So that's what he did. He sent me there, and biopsy came back positive. Out of the 12 places they checked on my prostate, I had cancer in 9 of them. And so for me, my prostate cancer education started there. In terms of getting educated on all the different treatment options, I elected to have my prostate removed using robotic surgery, and now I'm a survivor. And so now I'm doing my part to try and help educate other men about the importance of finding this disease out early. If they have it, to find out early, it makes all the difference in the world with regard to the outcome. So I've been really lucky to get guys like Ronnie and other Hall of Famers and even current players to help spread the word about the importance, especially in the African American community, because African Americans are more than twice as likely to get the disease.
And Ronnie, how did you get involved with Mike, and what should fans, the ones in the 40-year-old range, do to get checked and make sure that they have all the right information?
Yeah, I think it's simple. The reason I got involved is that you care, and two is that you realize that there are a lot of people that are afraid. And when you have people that are afraid, I think usually it's because they're not educated. They don't understand. And I think that we're trying to do that. I think Mike's story and what he's done, the testimony of him surviving, is a great way of being educated. I've learned a lot, and I think other people need to know the story. And I think that the other thing is that we got to be able to challenge men to go to the doctor. It's uncomfortable. A lot of men that I know that have passed away because they wouldn't go to the doctor, and yet had they gone, they would be alive today. And so I'm encouraging people and encouraging young men. And of course, when you hit that magic age of 40, I think that that's an area where when I was 40, I didn't have any clue, and I didn't even think about it. I thought that you had to wait till you're 50, but now it's 40. And if it is 40, you would imagine that it should start at 35. And if it should start at 35, then that tells you a lot about people and about how we need to kind of educate and start getting people out there to the doctor, especially men. This is for whatever reason, we've talked to a lot of men today, and all the men that we've spoken with, a lot of them have said, I'm afraid. And the reason I'm afraid, I just haven't gone to the doctor. I'm not comfortable going to the doctor. Well, I think you can be comfortable. I think that the notion that people today should not be afraid, because as Mike has learned, Mike went through the whole process, and as he said, hey man, I was able to go through this process. I survived it. I'm better for it. And so just people like Mike telling that story should encourage you to go see a doctor and get examined.
What kind of information can fans find on knowyourstats.org about prostate cancer?
Well, probably any question that you can think of that you might want to know, you can probably find it on that website. But you can also find out information about the knowyourstats.org campaign that we have with using Hall of Fame football players and what we're doing with the NFL to try and educate men about this disease. Also, during the month of September, a lot of hospitals around the country have partnered with us to have events and screenings. A lot of them are free screenings again, to try and educate the people in their community about prostate health.
Right. Is it all right if I ask you a couple of football-related questions?
Absolutely.
All right. Since I cover the 49ers, let me get this question out for Ronnie first.
Okay.
A lot of players have talked about the rookie Taylor Mays and how he's from USC, Ronnie, you're from USC, and how there are possibilities of comparison. What do you see and what have you seen in Mays, or have you seen anything in him that kind of resembles what you had when you played?
Well, I look at Mays, and one, he's got more speed than I ever had. Two is that he's a lot bigger and more physical than I ever was. And I think when you think of the combination of speed and the combination of size, those two remind me more of a Tim McDonald. He's a lot faster than Tim McDonald, but he has kind of the size that Tim McDonald has. So I think that this is a combination of a young man that could be not only explosive, but all of a sudden you take him learning how to play man-on-man, which at SC they play a lot of zone, they play a lot of bail technique, they don't get up and bump and run. He's athletic, he's more engaged with the ability to do a lot of different things. So I think the downside of Taylor is that he doesn't know a lot of things. The upside is that, man, he's got all the right attributes to be a great football player, and I'm very, very excited for him, and I'm looking forward to watching him become a Pro Bowler and watching him become one of the leaders of this defense.
All right, and then for Mike, I guess for you also, Ronnie, earlier this month we had Jerry Rice going to the Hall of Fame. Ronnie, you and Jerry were great teammates. And Mike, you actually faced, I looked it up, you faced the 49ers twice while you were playing for the Raiders, or while Jerry was with the 49ers. So Mike, how was it to go up against Jerry Rice, now recognized as the best wide receiver in the game?
Well, it's a good question. I'm asked that question a lot. And for me, it's always been a combination of the quarterback and the receiver. It's never been like, I've covered a lot of wide receivers and they beat me, but by the time the ball gets there, I've been able to recover. And so when you're going against Jerry Rice and Joe Montana, you're going against the two best. And so it didn't, when Joe left and Steve came in, it didn't drop off. They were still the two best out there. And all three of those guys are in the Hall of Fame for good reason, all three. So it was a day that I knew when I was covering Jerry Rice, I needed to pack my lunch because I knew it was going to be an all-day job, and that they were, even if you're covering him, they're going to throw it because they're not used to anybody covering Jerry Rice. So I had to have a lot of help from my other 10 guys on defense. Everybody had to do their job so I could do my job.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. And
all right. Thank you.
Good luck with your campaign and providing enough information out to the public about prostate cancer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.